Welcome back to the Crypto's Key conversation. Hey, I was just playing this matching game with my youngest. He's 4 years old, almost 4.5. And tell me why this kid is legit, man. I don't know how he just memorizes things, but I mean, he beat me majority of the time, which is crazy. And I was actually trying hard. So he was having me laughing there. He was like, give me my money. Every time he kept scoring, and he was just dominating in there, man. My kid's highly impressive with those little matching memory games. But I wanted to touch on some stuff with this video, and we're going to try to be as quick as possible. This is from Meta Lawman. This is as SEC versus Ripple update. There's a lot of debate about what the SEC will do next in the Ripple case. I believe there are at least 4 options under consideration. Option 1, file request for interlocutory appeal. Because no final judgment has been entered yet, the SEC doesn't have unilateral right to appeal now. It would need permission from both Judge Torres in the Second Circuit Court of Appeals to proceed with the interlocutory appeal. To get permission for interlocutory appeal, the SEC would need to show that 1, the ruling involves a controlling question of law. 2, there are substantial grounds for difference of opinion on that question. And 3, immediate appeal may materially advance the litigation. The SEC would have a decent argument that all 3 elements are present here. There's no specific deadline for the initial request, but it should be done promptly. A rule of thumb is within 30 days. If Judge Torres agrees, the SEC would then have 10 days to ask the Second Circuit. Option 2. SEC goes through with a trial on the aiding and abetting claim against Larson and Garlinghouse, then files a regular appeal. Option 3, SEC drops the claim against Larson and Garlinghouse and now takes an immediate appeal, no permission needed. And 4, settle. I believe the SEC is likely to try option 1, interlocutory appeal, because A, there's tremendous political pressure on Gensler to get the Torres decision reversed ASAP. Yeah, definitely. B, the decision looms like a dark cloud over the SEC case against Coinbase, Binance, and Bittrex, which we covered on this channel. Shouting out JD and Meta Lawman and Jeremy Hogan as well. He continues, the political considerations are important. Crypto exchanges around the world are relisting XRP, making the SEC look bad. Progressive Congressman Richie Torres and others have been emboldened to amp up criticism of Gensler. This is all embarrassing for Gensler and his allies. I think a settlement is unlikely at this point. It's hard to imagine SEC settle with Ripple and leaving the Torres precedent untested on appeal. The SEC's whole regulation by enforcement program against the crypto industry hinges on getting Torres reversed. Bottom line, I expect the SEC to file a request for interlocutory appeal within the next 2 weeks. I believe it would be in the best interest of Ripple and the XRP community for the appeals process to start now rather than a year from now. And I like Ripple's chances on appeal. Yeah. Shout out Meta Lawman. And Bill Morgan responds to this. He goes, unfortunately, I agree with option 1, and the reason which also, unfortunately, is based on the SEC's policy and agenda of regulation by enforcement. If this happens, Ripple should seek an interlocutory appeal on SEC on sales to ODL customers, which in my view were incorrectly lumped together with other institutional sales as investment contracts. This is a hedge against Ripple losing on programmatic sales and being in a position where U.S. ODL customers can buy either from Ripple or from exchanges. Yeah, it'd be interesting to kind of see what happens within this litigation. Obviously, when it comes to us being XRP investors, I mean, obviously we got, real law, judges' statements on real legal documents saying XRP is not security. So we're solid. We're sitting good. SEC, obviously, in their position, they're sitting where we're at now. So everything's, in a sense, a waiting game for them. Obviously, they got to take action, but it's still going to be a process. So until then, man, we're just kind of sitting pretty, just kind of waiting to see what happens. Stu Alderati had responded to Chain Reaction Pod, which says, Ripple won't shy away from likely SEC appeals of its federal court ruling. Quote, I think a court of appeals will not only affirm that, but maybe even amplify that to an even greater extent. So Stuart Alderati, Ripple's general counsel, says, 30 plus years as a lawyer, and crypto is without a doubt the most fascinating industry I've been a part of. Thank you to Jack Melinek for having me to discuss what the lawsuit decision means, where the SEC has jurisdiction, and more importantly, where it doesn't, and much more. Shout outs to Alderati and Ripple, man. So this is interesting. Digital Asset Investor have put up this Tony Edwards Thinking Crypto interview with Jack McDonald, CEO of PolySign, and he goes, I believe he is over the target here with a PJ settlement. Gary can say this was just the facts and circumstances for XRP and continuing to go after the rest of the industry. So obviously, matter of fact, I'm gonna play this video first, and then we'll talk about
to see what prevails now with Ripple and the SEC. Does the SEC just kind of accept that ruling around XRP as a security and let it lie, or do they really want to push the envelope and open up what would be a much broader potential ruling against them for a lot of other similar sort of tokens or assets, that they believe could be deemed to be securities? And if the Ripple case is meant to be, demonstrative and setting a precedence, the implication could be far worse for the SEC. So they may just want to box XRP and say the XRP ruling was a very narrow, fact-specific sort of ruling from the court, and it's really not meant to encapsulate the broader ecosystem of what we at the SEC believe are securities. So I think it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, the thing that I think is most intriguing is just how, like, the legal minds within the community that take an unbiased approach and they just go based off of the facts and their own predictions from their own experiences in, the legal world, right? How they can come up with different scenarios. And, from our view, it would make sense that Chairman Gensler would try to get like the biggest, financial victory that he possibly can in regards of like a fine paid by Ripple, right? In regards of some sort of settlement, right? But then again, then you had Meta Lawman, which we just covered, how he was saying they were thinking option one with an interlocutory appeal. So it's going to be just a waiting game to kind of see what happens. Like I said, it's almost in a sense really interesting for us at this moment. We got the victory that we've all been fighting for this entire time. So it's just going to be a waiting game to kind of see how everything else rolls out. And I just saw a tweet come up from BC Backer saying Dow continues moving up through all retraces and takes out the April 2022 high. So he's a big analyst that looks at all the different markets, especially the Dow, S&P 500, and comparing it to how it correlates to Bitcoin and the crypto market and all that stuff. And he's been kind of having his antennas up, saying as long as we hold certain areas. Obviously, we were talking about, we could potentially see the 50-something census within the XRP thing, but that doesn't mean that it's all, all hell's broke loose and it's over. It could be, super normal and healthy. And he compares our market to, as you could say, the regular market. And there's just a lot of good things there. And we're going to continue to cover BC Backer and the other TA guys that I follow, because things seem like it's really starting to heat up, and the page is really starting to turn. We're going to continue here, though. JD's responding to DAI, and it says, I believe this is his biggest and hottest debate at the SEC, and I believe there are senior SEC officials who split on what to do. Some will say don't appeal, and the SEC can argue facts and circumstances, and that XRP is a unique story, one not shared by other tokens. If you appeal and lose, it's the law of the Second Circuit and hugely persuasive in every other jurisdiction. Others will argue that you must try and appeal, but the Torah's decision, although not binding on the other judges in the SDNY, it will be massively persuasive on Torah's fellow judges. Think the Coinbase case. Plus, if you don't appeal, it sends a message you've accepted the Torah's decision. Man. it's crazy, man. It's just ongoing. Did I want to cover this one right here? Crypto Law, JD and Crypto Law had put this up. He goes, so the SEC Gov, so this is under Chairman Gensler, says, met with FTX repeatedly and failed to detect any fraud and prevent its harm to investors and customers. 2, failed to prevent Celsius Network, failed to prevent Terra Money, Terra Luna and Do Kwon in them. And it says destroy library coin and harmed LBC holders, which is the investors that they're so-called set out to protect, right? And then lost the Ripple case. Not a record to be proud of, Gary Gensler. And I thought this was interesting right here. JD says, and that's just chair of the SEC. As chair of the CFTC, ... Yeah, I mean the list can go on. We know that whole so-called cop on the beat type stuff that they were preaching and protecting investors and helping capital formation and protecting markets and all fair markets and all this stuff. It's all just noise. It's crazy, man. Shout out Blockworks for this. It says news, Ripple sets its sights on the UK and Ireland for next expansion of services. So I'm not going to read this article. I just wanted to throw it out there. You can go in and research and read it on your own. But hey, there we go. Continuing to build, man. It's crazy. We were talking about Ripple under the lawsuit from the SEC and how they were talking about like they were like 8 times plus growth even under lawsuit, right? And obviously XRP staying in the top 10 that entire time. And it's significant. The fact that you have the maxis out there and all these FUD campaigns and this negative agenda against XRP, even with the victory against the SEC currently, it's still the same song that they're singing. They're still bringing out, you know, their knives, guns, and they're just constantly attacking, right? Trying to shift the narrative. But it's like, dude, like, how can you deny this? Why is Brad Garland House, Stuart Alderati, and the likes in pictures and videos and at conferences with like very powerful people around the world? How can you deny it? It's crazy, man. We're gonna end on this one. This is from CoinDesk. It says, if you want to be in crypto but escape SEC scrutiny, you probably want to hold Bitcoin. But that doesn't mean Bitcoin miners can't get in trouble with regulators over securities laws. And DAI hits it on the head, says, correction. You want to hold XRP, the only digital asset with legal clarity. Bitcoin is a commodity only in an opinion of the current people in power. No legal decision or law passed yet. And that's just facts. That's absolute facts. We're currently sitting at a $1.2 trillion market cap. Bitcoin sitting at 29,276. Ethereum sitting at 1862. XRP sitting at 70 cents. So we're still sitting strong. Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index sitting at a 50. Man, this one had to be quick. I got to get ready for an appointment here. But make sure you come to the Crypto is Key Conversations YouTube channel. Subscribe. Follow us on Twitter at CryptoIsKey1. I really appreciate your support out there. With all that being said, stay strong out there and be safe.